Right. Asemo, Kagame, I hope you are not abusing your powers because some of us support transformational leadership and you fall in that bracket. But we will desert you if you're terrorizing people, if you're witch hunting people, if you're using unfair draconian measures to silence your political opponent. That is not right. If that is what is going on, you've got to stop. Remember Gaddafi. Gaddafi was a transformational leader. He did so much for the Libyan people, right? There's the man that said that until every single Libyan has got a house that he can call home to live, he is not going to build a house for his parents. His parents were living in huts before they died. And he couldn't accomplish that before his parents died. But he did. Libya had, before Gaddafi was brutally overthrown, Libya had spare homes. I mean, housing was just a problem in Libya. And it's not only housing, so many things that Gaddafi was doing for the Libyan people. But because he was still using the brute iron fist on his political opponent, behind the scenes, behind the smile, they were scared of him. Don't make your people scared of you. Because when the time comes for you to fall, they'll rejoice. Irrespective of what wonders you're doing for them. People want their freedom of choice and liberties to behave as humans. I am a disciplinarian. I am an advocate of strict enforcement of rule, rules, regulations, and laws, law and order. I am a strong advocate for that. But I want it to be fair, not repressive and harsh. I'm not an advocate of draconian measures. I am an advocate of a disciplined society. The laws are enforced fairly across board. Irrespective of who is in the line of fire, it gotta be enforced. But when you begin to terrorize people, your political opponents, with brutal and crude measures to silence them, then you overstep the mark. But Kagame, if that's what you're doing, Charlie, unchangeable. Remember Gaddafi. This is what I always say. Remember Gaddafi. Gaddafi was very comfortable before the Arab Spring. Gaddafi was very comfortable. Everything was okay in Libya. But when the wind of change got to Libya, although the West played a part in it for its overthrow, because the people couldn't have done it by themselves. But when that happens, that is when you see your friends and your allies. People will desert you. People will desert you. And you will fall. If you terrorize people unfairly, the law of karma works in very, very exactitude. It's an exact science. And eventually it will catch up with you, especially when you've extended your presidency to, I think, somewhere to the difference in 2035 or something like that. How long do you want to stay in power, Paul Kagame? How long? What is the succession plan for Rwanda? Do the right thing. African leaders, stop being stupid and make a succession plan and build up institutions that can survive when you're not there. Stop thinking, say you're the only one who can rule Rwanda until you die. Look at what happened in Zimbabwe. Although I cannot compare Zimbabwe to, but there was no succession plan. Mugabe wanted to stay on forever. Until when he was in his 90s, still wanted to stay on. What kind of stupidity is that? Have a succession plan, build institutions in Rwanda, make it work, make the Rwandans feel comfortable to be in charge of building Rwanda, even when you're not there. Don't think you're the only one who can steer Rwanda to paradise and beyond, because you're not going to be there forever. What is the succession plan? That's the problem with African leaders who come into power through democratic processes, and they want to overturn the constitution and self-seeking interest to remove term limits and stay on as what? Empires. So I am one of your strong silent supporters, right? Because you're a transformational leader. Nobody can question that. From what you've done in Rwanda, Gaddafi did the same thing in Libya. But look at how it ended. Because there was no inclusive succession plan. It was all about Gaddafi and his family. Don't make the same mistake in Rwanda, because it's going to catch up with you. Right, let me read the caption. Said enough. Rwandan court sentences Paul Rusesabagina to 25 years in prison. The man who in 1994 saved hundreds of lives from genocide and inspired the movie Hotel Rwanda, was found guilty of terrorism and related charges. How? Terrorism related charges. Listen to the latest edition of African Today. Wow. Let me see if I can listen to this podcast. So, like I'm saying,
Hello and welcome to the Africa Today podcast from the BBC World Service. I'm Noor Fakim from the Focus on Africa news desk with the...
So I'm going to play this podcast and listen to exactly what the issues are with what is going on with this sentence, because if he's guilty, then he's guilty. If he did really what they are, the charges are that they leveled against him, that he is trying to cause terrorism in Rwanda, then the law is the law. You got to face the punishment for it. But if it's a witch hunt and he's a political opponent, because I don't know this man and his relationship with Paul Kagame, but the rumors are that there are a lot of political opponents in Rwandan prisons because of Paul Kagame. And that is not right. That is not the right signal. That is not how you build a country. The people are quiet, not because they are happy, but because they don't want to step on your toes. And that is not a healthy environment. You may build all the skyscrapers, nice road, clean cities, nice stuff, give the people everything, let honey flow in the taps for them. But when they don't have their liberties and their freedoms are just in the hands of one man, Paul Kagame, the day the tables turn, they will rejoice, irrespective of what you've done for Rwanda. I'm always saying, remember Libya and Gaddafi.
The top stories making the news across the continent on Monday, the 20th of September. In today's edition, the Rwandan hero celebrated for saving hundreds of lives during the 1994's genocide has now been found guilty of terror-related crimes. A report from Human Rights Watch highlights crimes perpetrated a year ago on women inmates at a prison in Lubumbashi in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Also, why did a swarm of angry bees kill 63 penguins near Cape Town?
We think it was basically a freak accident. It was just the penguins were in the wrong place.
Okay, I think they're going to talk a lot about other things, so I'm going to stop here. But I don't know the full details of the story, but I'm just saying that the sort of, what's the right word? Uju din, Trimusani Bekan, Uju din, Paul Kagame. And the perception, yes, the right word is perception. The perception is that you terrorize your political opponent. Some of your supporters on the African continent, we are not happy with that. So deal with that for your own good. And I always say, remember Libya and Gaddafi. He gave them everything. He constructed an underground dam and piped water to the people who eventually overthrew him. The desert that there was no water there, he created an underground dam, reservoir of water, and piped it to the people who eventually overthrew. He gave them everything. Everything. Libya didn't pay light bill, water bill. I mean, they virtually had everything free. Healthcare free, education free, university. By the time you have a baby, you're paid money, you finish university, your job is ready, made for you. Housing, the spare, no housing deficit. I mean, the people were they had nothing to worry about but one thing: their freedom, their liberty. It was in the hands of only Gaddafi. Don't create the same situation and atmosphere in Rwanda. Paul Kagame. The word to the wise is now this your brother YK once again. Until I come here again, don't forget to say a prayer with every heartbeat. God bless us all.
We begin in Rwanda, where a former hotel manager, lauded for having saved hundreds of people during the 1994 genocide, was found guilty of terror-related crimes. Paul Rusesabagina has been handed down a 25-year prison sentence. He's accused of being the mastermind and financier of a rebel group that carried out attacks in Rwanda in 2018, killing 9 people. The strong critique of President Paul Kagame admitted sending money to the armed group, but denied involvement in the attacks. Speaking to the BBC, the family of the fallen hero described the trial as a sham, and his daughter, Karine Kanimba, believes the verdict is a result of a personal vendetta of President Kagame.
We know that the Rwandan government, President Paul Kagame is the only judge in this court. He's a political prisoner. Paul Kagame has come after my father since the movie Hotel Rwanda was released. He has had a personal vendetta against my father because of his popularity around the world, but also because my father used his platform to show to the world the human rights abuses being committed by the Rwandan government. My father has been treated unfairly. I mean, all of my father's basic human rights have been violated by the Rwandan government, starting with his kidnapping and tortured. He was held in solitary confinement for over 250 days, and that is a clear violation of the Nelson Mandela rules. He has limited access to his lawyers. We knew there would never be a fair trial for my father, and now the world knows too. If the US and Belgium and others believe in human rights, then they need to step in now and to free my father.
The verdict is a blow to the reputation of a man whose actions during the 1994 genocide inspired the Hollywood movie Hotel Rwanda. But in reading the verdict, the court said that they had been lenient towards Mr. Rusesabagina. As the BBC's Prudence Nguimva told my colleague Bola Mozero.
And the court stressed that the charges that Rusesabagina was facing could have landed him a life sentence, but they were a little bit lenient based on the fact that he pleaded guilty and he explained some parts of the charges, even though he did not stay in his trial to give more information.
And please tell us more about the court verdict and sentence, what exactly he was accused and found guilty of doing.
He was accused of many charges related to terrorism, and he was found guilty of terrorism, but he was actually discharged of the crime of creating an illegal armed group, so he was not found guilty on that one.
And tell us, Prudence, what reaction there's been so far to this verdict, both in and outside of Rwanda?
In Rwanda, especially people who have been following, they are happy that he's been found guilty. And I think it's fair to say that some of them actually are surprised that he's been handed 25 years because largely it was expected that he would get a lengthy sentence, like about a life sentence. But outside, of course, his family is disappointed. They say that this trial is what described in their words as a sham trial.
And it's been said, not just by his family but others, that he was actually heading to Dubai or to the Middle East in order to attend a conference, which the government said no, he was on his way to Burundi in order to, foment trouble. What's happening now? Is there any notice being taken of the fact that he is, I believe, is he a Belgian citizen residing in the United States? Is there any way that the family believes they can appeal there, or will they be appealing, do you know, in Rwanda?
His family insists that Paul Rusesabagina is actually not Rwandan. They said that he renounced his Rwandan citizenship, and they maintain that he is a Belgian citizen. Indeed, he has a Belgian citizenship. He also has a U.S. residency. But in Rwanda, they say, no, we do not know when Rusesabagina renounced his Rwandan citizenship. Therefore, he's still Rwandan. But his family says that they are in touch with the Belgian government about the case, and that the Foreign Affairs Ministry has promised that they will follow up with the Rwandan government and they will deal with this. But there's no clear indication whether this is going to change anything. However, the family plans to appeal.
The BBC's Prudin Nsengi Yumba speaking to my colleague Bola Mozuro. Rights group Human Rights Watch